Welcome to the fourth class, my friends. Since I am not feeling well and also feeling low, therefore I will not teach today, but I will not disappoint you. Rather, I will share with you my academic diaries of yesterday and day before yesterday and also today's morning. I do not know whether it will be of some help to you, but some of you are asking again and again how academic diary is written. Now, to illustrate how I write academic diary, and I have been writing academic diary since 1978. Therefore, my diaries do not contain sociological imagination. Rather, my diaries contain sociological experience of a vocational student of sociology, full-time student of sociology since 1978. The first book which I tried to read was The Division of Labor in Society by Imay Durkheim, which was written in 1893 and it was revised and published as second edition in 1902 by Imay Durkheim. Both the books were written in the French language, but it was based on Imay Durkheim's academic diary, which he wrote in his mother tongue, that is Hebrew. As you know, he was a French Jew who underwent 3 phases of life. I am talking about Wright Mill's term biography and history. I am talking about biography of Durkheim and the history of sociology when Imay Durkheim was writing. And then I could make sense that some of you are right when you say reading any book. I have given you 15 books from back to back or from the beginning to the end is not an easy task. Therefore, what to do? Because all of you are right, reading a full text online is not easy, not very smooth, not a very pleasant experience for anybody. The young students like you and the old students like me. But then I will share my long experience as a student of vocational sociology with you today. Rather, some of you may be familiar that I am using the word vocation from a book which is compulsory for you from Max Weber, compiled and edited by two sociologists, C. Wright Mills and his friend. Now, just see how many chapters are there in this book, The Division of Labor in Society. There is a preface to the first edition, 1893. Then there is a preface to the second edition, 1992. And then there is an introduction. These are 40 pages. And then from 41 page, book 1, the function of the division of labor begins. Chapter 1 is titled The Method of Determining this Function. This function means the function of the division of labor. Function in the same sense in which R.K. Merton defines social function in his book, Social Structure and Social Theory. Then there is chapter 2, Mechanical Solidarity or Solidarity by Similarities. And then there is chapter 3, Solidarity arising from the division of labor or organic solidarity. Then chapter 4, another proof of the preceding theory. Then chapter 5, the increasing preponderance of organic solidarity and its consequences. Then chapter 6, the increasing preponderance of organic solidarity and its consequences continued. And then chapter 7, the organic solidarity and contractual solidarity. It is from page 41 to page 182, and then book 2 begins. The causes and conditions of the division of labor. The title is The Causes and Conditions I am Supplying of Division of Labor. Chapter 1, The Progress of the Division of Labor and of Happiness. Chapter 2, The Causes. Chapter 3, Secondary Factors. Chapter 4, Secondary Factors Continued. Chapter 5, Consequences of the Foregoing. This book is from page 182 to page 276. And then third book, The Abnormal Forms. First chapter, The Anomic Division of Labor. Second, The Forced Division of Labor. Third, Another Abnormal Form. And then conclusion. It is from 276 to 331. Now, it was not possible for me to read the full book in 2.5 days. Therefore, I do not expect that any one of you will read this book in 1 week. Therefore, what to do? One has to rely on one's own academic diary. But before I read my academic diary on this book, I must share with you my experience of reading a smaller book and just one chapter. The book is called The Social and Political Thought of Karl Marx, and it is written by Shlomo Avineri, Shlomo Avineri. This is the book. This book was published in 1961, and I just read third chapter, Homo Faber. This is Homo Faber, and I am writing my academic diary about this book. Of course, others will read the same book in different way, because there are different methods of reading a book. There are different methods of teaching a book. Now, let me introduce you for the first time. Do not worry, my dear friends, about the name of the books. It will be uploaded very soon. I have revised my timeline. It will not be uploaded after 1 month. It will be uploaded after 15 days. Now, Karl Marx, as you know, is known in most English-speaking countries of the world as a champion of historical materialism and dialectical materialism. Now, there are two types of dialectics and epistemology. Epistemology, that is theory of knowledge. Ontology, that is theory of reality. There is one epistemology which is called, this is from my diary of today, negative dialectical epistemology of Buddhist Acharya Nagarjuna. And then, there is one negative dialectical epistemology of Buddhist Acharya Nagarjuna. And then there is another, the historical dialectics of German philosopher Hegel. Now, what is written in this book? I am just quoting verbatim. Shlomo Avineri has written on page 65, and I am just quoting him verbatim so that you should have a note of what he writes. He said that he agrees with G. Leff, Leff, 1961. I gave you the date wrong. This book was written in 1968 and not 61. In 1961, another book was written which he quotes, G. Leff, Leff. The name of the book is The Tyranny of Concepts. I will repeat the name of the book, The Tyranny of Concepts. Now he said that Marx had been a victim of the tyranny of concepts by ill-informed armchair sociologists. Now why he says, I'm quoting him, Marx himself never dealt with materialism systematically. Much of what is known as Marxist materialism was written not by Marx but by Frederick Engels. In most cases, after Marx's own death in 1883. Marx himself never used the terms historical materialism or dialectical materialism for his systematic approach, but he had a materialist epistemology. I will repeat the last sentence. Marx himself never used the terms historical materialism, inverted comma, historical materialism or dialectical materialism, again inverted comma, for his systematic approach, but he had a materialist epistemology. Then after reading this, I became interested in how he, that is this book, Social and Political Thought of Karl Marx by Shlomo Avineri, deals with the concept of division of labor in Karl Marx. Then I found that he discusses this concept of division of labor in Karl Marx under 3 chapters. Chapter 3, Homo Faber, Homo Faber, Homo Faber, Faber. This is from page 65 to page 95. And what he writes? He writes 3 subsections: consciousness and society, B. labor, history and political economy, and C. Marxist concept of social man. And then he writes chapter 4, alienation and property. And under this chapter, he has three sections: the materialist premise, B, alienation and the forms of property, C, criticism of commodities and division of labor. Then he writes chapter 5, praxis and revolution, under which he concludes this book that the social and political thought of Karl Marx is basically the unity of theory and praxis. According to this author, Shlomo Avineri, the social and political thought of Karl Marx consisted of the unity of theory and praxis, that is, from interpreting the world to changing it. Now let us come to chapter 3 of the same book, Homo Faber, and I am quoting him again. The ultimate possibility of human self-emancipation is related with his philosophical premise, that is Karl Marx's philosophical premise about the initial creation of the world by man. I will repeat, because this is the conclusion of this book about Marxist concept of social man, that is Homo Faber, Homofaber. The ultimate possibility of human self-emancipation is related with his philosophical premise about the initial creation of the world by man. Then he writes, it is his understanding of the corpus of Marxist writing written by Marx himself. It is, that is, Marxist theory of social man. It is a secular version of the Hegelian notion that actuality or reality is not an external, objective datum, D-A-T-U-M. Data is the plural of datum, but is shaped by human consciousness. Then I am writing my academic diary of yesterday. I am writing about the three thinkers together, and I am reading out my academic diary of yesterday. This is my understanding of Marx, Weber and Durkheim. This is based on my sociological experience as a student since 1978 till date. Both Karl Marx and Imay Durkheim were relatively optimistic about the prospective achievements of social theory. By comparison, Max Weber was a pessimist. Both Marx and Durkheim were inspired by the theoretical achievements of the natural sciences into envisioning social sciences that would match the former in their scope and power by providing a general theory of human society and history. Both Marx and Durkheim were convinced that the development of scientific knowledge would provide unparalleled opportunity for social improvement. Though Weber believed that scientific knowledge was of practical value and that social science could provide such knowledge, he also argued that expanding scientific knowledge did not automatically bring benefits. It would also produce disillusionment or disenchantment. The practical value of scientific knowledge depends not upon the quality of knowledge itself, but upon the purposes and the spirit in which it is applied. And there was no guarantee that the application of scientific knowledge would be benignly motivated, that is, nobly motivated. Indeed, there was much to fear from the experts who often believed that their intellectual preeminence entitled them to a privileged position in deciding human affairs. Though Weber opposed technocrats, he did not thereby dismiss the value of expertise. He only underlined the idea that the possession of expertise is any kind of qualification for political leadership. So, Weber was much more skeptical than either Marx or Durkheim that sociology could provide ultimate knowledge of social reality. He repeatedly emphasized the limitations upon the capacity to human mind in itself. Inverted comma. Now, this is an example of academic diary. Your experience of reading a book or your experience of attending a professional class of sociology or your experience of analyzing any social fact or representation. Now, what I wanted to emphasize today is a very simple thing that we cannot understand why the division of labor in society was written by Imay Durkheim. One friend asked in one of the class, first or second class, I do not remember, what inspired Durkheim to write this book, The Division of Labor in Society. And I tried to give the non-controversial, relatively common wisdom of generations of sociologists that he was responding to different types of division of labor provided by Montesquieu, that is political division of labor, division of labor by Adam Smith, that is economic division of labor, and he was providing his own concept, or he was trying to provide his own theory of division of labor in society. Now, I would like to underline the following, that these three different authors, Montesquieu, Adam Smith, and Imay Durkheim, they were writing at different points of time. Montesquieu was writing before the French Revolution, much before the French Revolution, when the divine right of king and monarchy was, understood as a given fact. People thought that monarchy will continue for a longer period of time. And then Adam Smith was writing around the same time in Scotland, Edinburgh in particular, during which Voltaire, Rousseau, and their gang, they were preparing France for the French Revolution. Now, what I wanted to underline today is what is unique about the division of labor in society. Now, unlike Montesquieu and Adam Smith, but also unlike Karl Marx and Max Weber, Durkheim approached the division of labor from a different ontological, epistemological, and methodological perspective. Namely, unlike Montesquieu, he was standing on the shoulders of the giants. This is a term used by R.K. Merton. This book was written in 1960, and this book is not read by most sociology students today. Now, had Durkheim written in the same time frame in which Montesquieu was writing, he would not have been able to write like this. What I am trying to underline, and here I am a little careful because I am feeling low. Otherwise, I am usually a very, I should say, different type of sociologist. Uh, I wanted to emphasize that these days uh, our good friends, more well-read than me, more wise than me, they have created a havoc or panic of plagiarism. And some of you may be also worried about it. I'm sorry, I'm not worried about plagiarism at all, because there are different types of plagiarism. Uh, but what I'm hinting at, I'm not saying that you should, copy and paste from others. This is certainly illegal, a crime. But I am also saying that original work in social science is impossible. And I am also saying that original work in natural science is even unthinkable. Some social scientists claim to be very original. None of the natural scientists claim to be original. Therefore, what I expect from you and what I expect from me is that a particular concept should be comparatively analyzed and understood, both by you as well as by me. You should try to do hard work, honest work. You should try to represent your talent in the same way in which a particular community represents a totem or a symbol. Your end semester exam or your term paper should represent you. It should not represent Marx, Weber, or Durkheim. It should represent your understanding of Marx, Weber, and Durkheim. And this cannot be done unless and until you develop your own identity as a serious student of sociology. Now, once you take yourself seriously as a student of sociology, then in the fourth class, I dare say you should not begin with the books I suggested you earlier. That was my first class. I was trying to take you in sociological trap. Now you are trapped. Therefore, I am sharing with you my trade secret as a sociologist functioning in a very hostile environment. You know why I am saying like this? Because after teaching for so long, I have the following to share with you. Number one, as our friend was talking about Karl Marx, that what you were taught in your graduation or undergraduation about Karl Marx was factually wrong. They were teaching you Marxism, a political ideology, which was primarily written by Friedrich Engels and Vladimir Lenin and Stalin and many others. But when somebody says like this, as I am saying, some of you will feel that I am anti-Marxist. Now I am not anti-Marxist at all, because I do not love Karl Marx. And when you become anti or anti of somebody, you are going towards hate. Not loving one person is one thing, hating the other person is totally another. Because you can ignore somebody whom you loved at one point of time. You cannot ignore somebody whom you hated once at one point of time. Because hate is the most intense form of love. I will repeat, hate is the most intense form of love. And I am a practicing Buddhist since 1975. We are taught detachment, not neutrality, detachment, sthita pragyata, bodhisattva. Therefore, I am not neutral, but I am detached when I am reading Karl Marx, Max Weber, or Imay Durkheim. When some people say I am a Marxist, I am a Durkheimian, or I am a Weberian, I simply say I am a Buddhist. And in case Karl Marx follows Hegelian dialectics, I follow negative dialectics provided by our teacher, Acharya Nagarjuna. But once you dislike somebody, once you do not love somebody, it becomes your responsibility to reject the person or dislike the person holistically. Therefore, I have been reading those sociologists much more carefully, much more extensively, whom I do not like. Because loving is a very simple affair, my dear friends. You can love anybody. You can make friends with anybody. But making an enemy or hating somebody or rejecting somebody is a very deeper epistemological, ontological, ethical question. Therefore, when I say I do not like Max Weber, I do not say I am not reading him or I never read him. I read all the, I will not say all, I have studied all the major sociologists taught in any of the universities in the world in original, not in translations. Therefore, what I do not like is a particular teacher or a particular student imposed or, superimposed his or her own understanding of Marx, Weber, and Durkheim on the students. We have no such right. This is unethical. This is not crime. This is sin. S-I-N, sin. I am a religious person. I am not a secular person at all. Secular is not opposite of religious in the Durkheimian sense of the term. What is sacred? Sacred is social representation. What is sacred? It is a symbol of the whole. For example, the Tiranga Jhanda or tricolor flag of India is sacred for the whole of India. In the same way, Islamic flag is sacred for the Muslims all over the world. The Holy Cross is sacred to all the Christians of the world. In the same sense, A particular writer or teacher like Marx, Weber, and Durkheim should not be misunderstood deliberately. They should not be taught in the wrong way. And what is the right way? I do not know the right way. I only know what is wrong. I do not know what is right. Because I am a minority. I come from a very, minority background. I am a classical sociologist who tries to read, any author in the original. And therefore, I do not write commentary, I write textbook in different languages. And I know that my most colleagues do not read me. And I'm thankful to them that they do not read me. But what I cannot do is to give you a wrong way. I may not be knowing the right way of teaching classical sociology, but I know what is the wrong way of teaching classical sociology. Giving commentary for the original is wrong. Giving page numbers out of the whole book is wrong. Therefore, I claim that I am not a professor, I am not a teacher, I am a student of sociology from 1978 till date, and I will remain so. I am a devout student of sociology, but I am also a devout student of Buddhist epistemology. I synthesize, unlike C. Wright Mills, Buddhist epistemology with sociological tradition of social ontology. What does it mean? It means that the Marxist concept of man, homo faber, in case you translate this homo faber into common sociological language, it will be man is a tool-making animal. According to Karl Marx, man is a tool-making animal. What is the concept of man in Hobbes, Thomas Hobbes, who has been the obsession of most sociologists because he challenged us by giving two notions. One, the notion of human nature, and second, the notion of social order. According to Thomas Hobbes in the book Leviathan, man is selfish, naughty, and brutish by nature. Man is selfish, brutish, and man is selfish, naughty, and brutish by nature. Therefore, unless and until there is an organized state, monolithic state, a majoritarian state, social order is not possible at all. Therefore, there are large number of political sociologists who do not understand what they are teaching and what they are writing. By singling out the state as the most important element of society or civilization, they are falling in the Hobbesian trap. We are fortunate that none of the founding fathers we are dealing with today, namely Imay, Durkheim, Karl Marx, and Max Weber, were a victim of the Hobbesian trap. Max Weber is perhaps the only sociologist out of the three who partly believed in the Hobbesian notion. What is the Weberian concept of man? He said man is rational. But he also said man is selfish. Now, in case Marx is taught wrongly in majority of colonial countries, Weber is also taught in the wrong way. And I said you in my earlier classes about our friend Stanislawski and Andrzejewski. He devoted his lifetime, and he said that Weber did not write a book called The Protestant Ethic and the Spirit of Capitalism. He said, what we read is not Max Weber in the universities, rather the distorted version of Weber. And who did the distortion? Who is the Frederick Engels of Max Weber? Of course, Talcott Parsons. Therefore, in the name of Max Weber, most universities have been teaching Talcott Parsons versions of Max Weber from the book The Structure of Social Action, Volume 2. Imay Durkheim is perhaps the only fortunate person whose original French editions were misunderstood but not distorted. Therefore, there are a number of new translations of Imay Durkheim which improvise our understanding of the older understanding of Imay Durkheim. But you cannot say these imperfect translations from French into English are of the same type in which Karl Marx was distorted or Max Weber was distorted. Now, in case you asked me, which book is the most important book of Imay Durkheim? I will say there are two books, and both are not taught. One book is called Professional Ethics and Civic Morals. Second book is called Primitive Classification. The first book is written by Imay Durkheim himself at the fag end of his career. And the second book he wrote with his nephew, Marcel Mauss. Of course, it is taught in anthropological theory or sociology of family and kinship, but both the books are not referred at all. Professional Ethics and Civic Morals is usually taught in an optional course on sociology of professions, which hardly, is read. Therefore, what I am trying to give to you is my own understanding of Marx, Weber, and Durkheim through their original writings. And no question will be asked which is not taught in the class. Rather, all the questions will be given to you in advance. Therefore, do not worry about exam. Just try to, enjoy the classes. Just try to arrive in love with the three sociologists. In sociology, you should not fall in love. Rather, you should ride in love. If not with the person, Karl Marx, Max Weber, or Imay Durkheim, at least you should write in love with one of the books written by them. And then you will realize the difference between sociology as a vocation. You know, Max Weber is very important when you read his two articles from the book from Max Weber, Science as a Vocation and Politics as a Vocation, because he wrote these two articles, rather he gave these two lectures when he was a retired politician and completing about society as a retired politician. I told you he was trained in engineering, which is rooted in natural science called physics, and he was trained in law. I will continue with this debate about division of labor in society and different concept of man in Marx, Weber and Durkheim on Monday. I request all of you to try to read at least. You should try very honestly to read the book in online format. I will not request you to buy it because everybody is not economically rich. Some of you, those who can afford, you should buy the book and distribute in your friend circle or tutorial circle. Those who are poor, I am from a poor background. Therefore, I never bought any book during my student days. I read all the books in the library, but as a teacher, I buy books also for writing and speaking. Thank you.